Hey guys, welcome back to Sage and Stone Homestead. My name is Heather. This is Remington. She's a very old cat and she doesn't normally like to be outside, but this has been what she's demanded today, so here she is. I need to put her back inside though because I'm pretty sure she's going to be terrified of the weed whacker. It's been a couple weeks since I did much with the garden rows or the pathways, the walkways here in the garden. So I want to take you along with me because this is kind of the behind the scenes things that you don't normally see. So I figured I'd show you. So Levi actually bought me this battery powered weed whacker. I have a hard time starting the gas weed whackers. I don't know what it is, but this thing is awesome. I got it for Mother's Day and it makes doing chores or doing things like this really easy for me. I'm gonna try not to get distracted by all of the things that are in the garden, but just this once, maybe. This tomato was actually grown from seed that I saved from a tomato out of my mother-in-law's garden, and this very well could get to be darker. I remember hers being like more purple with green stripes, but this feels very ripe. And I also wonder how it tastes. I had the seed saved as a black vernissage tomato, which is why I thought maybe it should be a little bit darker, but it feels ripe. It tastes ripe. It actually kind of almost seems a little bit overripe. I don't know if you can tell in there. There's a little bit of like a mealy texture, which isn't lovely. Ooh, I sincerely hope that this isn't how these tomatoes are gonna be. Sometimes if you get some cross-pollination in the garden, things don't turn out super great. This might be one of those times, which is kind of unfortunate. Anyways, now that we've had our snack, it's time to weed whack, so I'm gonna put you in a time lapse. There goes a toad. I guess it's good I missed that spot. Look what I noticed while I was weed whacking over here. Some of our elderberries are starting to ripen. I'm noticing too that it looks like a lot of the birds have already kind of come along and taken a lot of the ripe berries off. I didn't have much of an issue with that last year, but it seems like the birds are taking my elderberries. But I still have elderberries in the freezer from last year that I can deal with, so I don't know that I care too much about that this year, but may call for some bird netting in future years.
Is that a watermelon?
No, this is zucchini.
I don't like zucchinis.
I'm sorry. How about this one?
I don't like that one.
Is there a squash that you do like?
Hmm.
What about that big orange one that I make into soup?
I don't know. I don't think I have a favorite squash.
Can you tolerate any of them?
No.
Okay.
I don't like them.
There's got to be one. That's fine.
But the only thing I do like to eat that we picked out today was like this long. It was a cucumber.
Did you eat it already? Yeah.
A monstrous cucumber.
Yeah.
It is thick.
I believe it.
Huge cumber. Very bitter.
Call it a huge cumber. I think I'll actually get on the lawnmower and come out here tomorrow. This is very easy to maintain. At least right now, I know that eventually a lot of these vining plants are gonna start to make their way out to where there's grass, and that's okay. I still will be maintaining these grassy parts, and we'll probably like miss out on a little bit of harvest, but I don't think it's really gonna matter. I was just out here yesterday picking on these cucumbers, and we're definitely at the time of year where it's really important that I do come out here every day to check on the cucumbers, because these guys come on really fast. And at least with the gherkins, I don't want them getting too big. I have a specific size in mind for my pickled gherkins, and this size is just about right. And none of these were of size yesterday, so that gives you an idea of how fast they grow. And obviously as the plants grow, they're gonna be putting on more blossoms, and that will be more and more fruit as the season progresses. Down here is the slicer variety of cucumber that I've decided to grow this year, the Bait Alpha. These can probably get a little bit longer, but I think this is a pretty good size. Here's my cucumber bounty for the day, not too bad. Boys. Hello. We do have a solar fan on our greenhouse, but the trajectory of the sun changes with the seasons, and during the summer like this, I have to come out a couple times a day at least so that I can adjust the solar panel so that the fan can actually run. Here we go. That's better. 109 sounds about right, but look how perky everything is. It's insane to me. If you are wondering, yes, I have neglected to bring a harvest basket to the garden again. Hey guys, so it's actually the next day in the evening, and I have purchased a new microphone. So the sound might be a little bit different. Hopefully it's not too distracting.
Changed my bird's name into Riverbend because I kept calling it Riverbend.
She's cute. These blackberries are something that I really should be checking on every day as well in order to harvest them. And that's something I kind of wanted to talk to you guys about. When the harvest kind of trickles in instead of coming in all at once, it makes it hard to preserve your harvest. And that's, I think, the goal of a lot of us. Now, we've been eating fresh handfuls of these berries every day, but really what I want to do is get enough of them together to make a decent sized batch of jam, because we just opened our last jar of jam inside the house, and so I am well overdue for making more. And honestly, I haven't been able to use much of our own fruits. I may have put a few of our own strawberries in a strawberry jam that I made with strawberries from the store, but this jam is going to be the first jam that really will have all of our own berries in it. With berries, it's pretty easy to figure out what to do in order to gain enough berries in order to make a jam. You just keep putting them in the freezer until you have enough. And then when you have accumulated enough, you can make your jam. But other things on the homestead really aren't so cut and dry. A lot of people will grow, like for example, paste tomatoes. And a lot of people will grow them in order to make sauces out of, because they're very good for making sauce. But initially they come on kind of slow. You'll get onesie twosies harvests of tomatoes for quite a while. And by the time you've gotten, like, let's say 5 pounds of tomatoes, some of those first tomatoes can be going bad. But you can actually freeze those as well, what you're going to want to do. And I'll show you this later on in the season when we get there. But it's called coring and scoring. The only tomatoes that I have that are ripe are these cute little spoon-sized tomatoes, but they're going to work fine for my illustration. So you see how this tomato has a little stem. You're just going to take that off. If you go to freeze this, which you could, you probably would want to make, you know, a tomato sauce out of these, but you could. It would just be a little bit tiring. Because really when you make sauce, you don't have to, but it makes a better sauce if you peel the tomatoes, and you can dunk them in boiling water for like 2 minutes and then take them out and peel the skins off that way. But I have found that it's really, really easy to peel the skins off of frozen thawed tomatoes. And so that's what we do. And in order to freeze them, we take this little core right here. You can take a little, like a strawberry hulling spoon, and just dig that right out, core that, and then you score the bottom. So you're just going to take a knife and make an X in the skin. And that's just going to allow the juices to really just leave the tomato when it thaws from the freezer. And it makes it much easier to peel. And really half the work of making sauce is done just in that process. And so as you harvest your tomatoes throughout the year, you can do that. You can just core and score your tomatoes and shove them in the freezer and get to them either when you have enough or when you have time, because sometimes that's also the problem. You're getting so much harvest that you really don't have time to deal with it all at once. And so that's a good thing to note and to do as well. Something I have done as well that they say you can't do, but I have done it very successfully for a couple years, is you can freeze green beans without blanching them. I have also done this with broccoli. I'm trying to think of other things I might have done it with. But short term, that's completely fine. We like to just take the frozen veggies and just drop them right down into a pan of tallow or butter or oil and saute them up that way. And the broccoli and the beans that we've done that with have come out absolutely perfect without blanching. So blanching your vegetables, what it does is it kills the enzyme inside of the plant that essentially continues to break it down over time. And so it's probably not a great long-term solution to not blanch your vegetables. And it probably wouldn't work for every vegetable, but it's worked for me. So what are you doing? Head over to the lane before the sun completely goes away. You can probably use the same basket. I don't normally get to show you guys the birdhouse gourd blossoms because they don't open until the evening. I didn't really realize it or remember it until I saw that this fuzzy gourd was growing out here, that I had placed more birdhouse gourd over here. So these are the ones that we're planning on harvesting and eating young. And the ones that are in the raised bed garden, those ones are going to be for actual birdhouses. See, the male flower over here does not have a little gourd at its base, and the female flower does. So the birdhouse gourd is pollinated by a nocturnal moth, but I've done this a couple times just to kind of ensure that we're going to get some gourds pollinated. I'm just taking this male flower here and pollinating the female flower. As far as cucumbers go, when I don't have enough of those to really make a batch of cucumbers, those will actually store pretty long in the refrigerator, and then you can make pickles when you get, I think it's 3 or 5 pounds. It depends on the recipe you're using. My advice to you though, if you're going to put your cucumbers in the refrigerator and then can them later, is to bring them back up to room temperature before you load your jars. Because if you put cold cukes inside of your glass jars and then you put the, boiling hot liquid on top of that, you risk breaking your jars. Another really great food preservation for small harvests is a dehydrator. You can dehydrate small batches of really anything and put it together as kind of like a thing to add to soups. But also fermenting is a really great way to preserve small harvests, because you can use like a pint-sized jar and ferment your pickles or your beans or really anything that is a smaller harvest. What'd you find? Yay! Bring it over here. This is a new patty pan squash off of a new plant that I haven't gotten to harvest off of before. And I've mentioned in prior videos that each individual patty pan squash seems to create its very own style of patty pan. And I think that this is my favorite shape yet. It's like an overstuffed ravioli. Wow. Yeah, the ends of them are starting to get a little bit moldy on the blossom end. It's still nice and soft in the skin though. I'll see if I can find another squash and show you what Levi was wiping off. But it's been so hot and humid here lately that I have noticed that some of the blossom ends on the squash are kind of getting a little bit moldy. Let's see. If you wipe them off, you can see that it's not affecting the fruit at all, but what it is just the blossom that was there before the fruit was there dies, and if it doesn't fall off, it starts to kind of rot on the end there, and it can just be subject to degrading by way of mold on the bottom of the squash. I like to remove them when I see them because it just makes me feel a little bit better, but the squash usually isn't affected by that. See here. Just a little bit slimy on the bottom. This is not blossom end rot. That would be from like a calcium deficiency. See, I wiped it off with my shirt. It's good and clean. It's just from that blossom dying. We've effectively buried our berries. So those are the ways that I can think of how to deal with a small harvest. If you can think of anything that I've missed, please put that in the comment section down below. I do have videos on fermenting if you're interested in figuring out that process. It's a very, very easy. I know it's a little bit intimidating, but I think you just need to jump into it to see how amazing it can be. If you've got questions about that and you kind of want to see the process, I've got this video up here from last year where we fermented some cucamelons.